And we're in for a treat today as we're joined by Ben Youngs, Luke Cowan-Dickie and Beno Obano from inside England's Six Nations camp, thanks to Dove Men Plus Care, who are a proud supporter to England rugby. We will get to more positive matters very shortly, but we're speaking on the Monday morning after a Calcutta Cup defeat, so impossible not to talk about it. Obviously, Ben, you've been involved in countless wins at Twickenham. Where does this rank in terms of your most disappointing days at Twickenham?
I think any game you lose is disappointing. The weekend is no different. I think credit to Scotland, they played well. They put us in the areas that we couldn't get out of. We weren't able to capitalise when we had a man up. And, they dictated really probably the tempo of the game. So it was a situation which, the longer the game went on, we just couldn't quite break that cycle. And no one be looking harder at themselves than us as a team. I think the Six Nations is, you might lose the first game as we did last year. It's not ideal, but you've got to get back on the horse. You can't let that completely take the wind out of your sails. You've got to bottle the disappointment, of course, you have, and then channel that into something positive. So, we've got an opportunity now this week to see what type of team we want to be. We want to be a team that, on the back of a performance which wasn't at the level that we prepare for, and the result not that we wanted, is we want to come out and get back out there and put forward a game that we're much more prouder of and a lot more better sort of way of how we want to play the game. So, like I say, I've got to credit Scotland because they stopped us from doing what we want to do. But equally, no one be looking harder at ourselves than us, and ways of which we can make sure that we don't quite perform at that level.
And we obviously hear coming out of England camp the desire to focus on performance rather than result, the desire to get better week on week on week. Clearly it was disappointing on Saturday, but we're so used to seeing England impose themselves on the opposition. From a halfback point of view, often that comes physically up front and you're playing behind that, Ben. So why do you think you just couldn't impose yourself physically like you normally do? Is that just credit to Scotland, or is there anything you've managed to pinpoint since the final whistle?
Yeah, like I mentioned, really, you have to credit Scotland. That's certainly they made us, infringe with the style that they played. We were giving away penalties that perhaps we wouldn't normally do, and I think that was probably just didn't have enough patience within our system just to control it and let them have it. We're a little bit impatient at times, going for things that necessarily weren't quite there to be delved into. Then, on the back of that, they sort of get down into our half. We work hard to get the ball back. We get back out, and then we infringe again, and then we're back to where we started. And it's kind of like a vicious cycle that we couldn't quite break. On the pitch, the guys are in great headspaces, I think, in terms of physically and mentally prepared. They were in good spaces going into the game. There was a sense of urgency to get things right, but like I say, we just couldn't break that cycle. And you've got to give credit to them. And one thing from our point of view is like I say, we're a team now that's got to come back out and bounce back as quick as we can. And, we'll make sure that we prep accordingly to get things right at the weekend against Italy.
And Luke, from your point of view, obviously watching from the sidelines for the first half and then coming on midway through the second half, what's it like watching that when you can see that England are perhaps on the back foot, they're infringing a bit, giving away penalties, and you want to come on and make a real impact and change things? How difficult is it to kind of come on and change the momentum, and what were you told before you came on?
Yes, it's always difficult, especially when you're necessarily probably on the back foot a little bit. So basically just come on, try and get a bit go forward, and then just obviously make my tackles. As a finisher, as we call them here, we always try and come on and give a bit more energy to the team, try and pick us up a bit. But it was quite hard, like Lenny said. We're giving away a few pens, which probably weren't really like us. But I think boys were just so eager to get involved to the games. First Six Nations game, it's a massive occasion. And then it's just started getting away from us, I think. I think there's bits in the game which we did do well. But like Lenny says, Scotland played well. So credit to them boys. We just not necessarily had a good game. A few areas where, set piece wise for me and Beno, it normally goes a bit better. I think, it's probably first bit of the game, I think scrums were sort of going their way, our way, and it's never good. As soon as you have a few resets and uncompleted scrums, I think then it comes into the ref's head a bit more, and it's more of a gamble rather than the dominant team. So we'll look to tidy up that area this week. But yeah, coming off the bench and trying to get momentum when necessarily didn't have it was quite tough. But that's all we get asked to do when we come off the bench. So yeah.
And Luke, from that physicality point of view, obviously in the loose as well as the tight, I said to Ben, we obviously are used to England seeing them dominate physically, particularly against Scotland, and that's no disrespect to them. In previous years, we've seen the results, but more recently they have brought more physicality to the game, and I'm sure it didn't surprise you guys. I'm sure you did your analysis. It surprised a lot of people from the outside, the physicality that Scotland brought. So where does that rank in terms of the test matches that you've played? Presumably it was physical when you came on.
Yeah, of course it's physical. Most games are physical. Throw yourself around. I don't think games change too much. So I've played most games I play, I come off the pitch and I feel like I've been in a car crash. So yes, it's not pretty. It's hard. It's hard to dominate a team when you don't really have much ball. I think the possession for them was a lot higher than what we used to as well. So there'd be times where we put in sets of D because obviously don't have the ball, try and put our physicality onto them, but we would then give away a cheap pen. Not necessarily meaning to, just happened on the day. So it was quite hard to get momentum and then to try and get on top of them. So like I said, credit to Scotland, they did well.
And Ben, on to slightly more positive matters. Obviously, it's not the result you wanted for your debut, but just talk us through the overall emotion of making your England debut. Give us an insight into what you were feeling before the game, the nerves, the pride, everything that goes into that.
Yeah, so I think it's like a little bit different experience to what like Lenny or Luke would have experienced, because obviously obviously your family aren't there. You get a ton of messages and stuff, and at the time I don't reply to messages before I play, or don't really look at them, and just try and focus on the game. And it's sort of like when I came on, it was sort of obviously the position that we were in. You were trying to change the scoreline and trying to affect the game positively. So it was sort of like I didn't even think about the debut as much in that period. And then it was sort of yesterday on the Sunday, you sort of sat back, and when you got to speak to family and your friends a bit more and reply to all those messages, it sort of sunk in a bit more that it's like a really, really great achievement to be able to represent England. So that it was more the day after than the actual day that I probably felt it, yeah.
And you mentioned Ben's debut there. I mean, to me, Ben, it seems like yesterday, but it was obviously quite a while ago. But Beno, did a guy like Ben, he's won over 100 caps for his country, did he have any words of wisdom, any words of advice for you before the game?
Everyone just said enjoy it. Like a lot of people, like everyone that has obviously got, who have done well and who are legends like Ben and stuff, like they were just like enjoy it and just try and enjoy the moment. Just go out there and get your basics right and enjoy as much as possible. Yeah.
And did Eddie say the same, or did he have any specific advice for you before the game, specific instructions?
I want to say 100%, but like probably like 99% of people just said enjoy it. Don't worry about anything. You deserve to be here. That was like a big message. Like you deserve, because obviously imposter syndrome is quite heavy and stuff. So it's sort of like you deserve to be here. Go and just enjoy the moment because you've worked hard to be here. So go and just do that and get your basics right, and don't try and be a superhero or anything. Just do what you do, basically. Yeah.
And I've read that you, Beno, like before you go out and play, you often think about how lucky you are to be playing rugby. Not just now, but just generally, not just with the world we're in now. Generally, lucky to be going out there playing rugby for a living. So was that something you thought about before your England debut as well? And does that help to kind of relax you in a way, or does it motivate you, or what's that about?
Yeah, so like on game day, I'm actually probably a lot more relaxed on game day than I am during the week. In the week, I feel like quite a bit of pressure to like get things right. And then on the weekend, it's sort of like it's a game, like go and just play, right? And so, yeah, like the idea that like I feel grateful, it's just because like I put on a tracksuit, I come and talk to you guys, I box in the morning and the food's made for me. I just feel like lucky, like, do you know what I mean? And when I sit around and like, when I go back home and I see how hard my parents have to work and stuff, and like my friends have to work just to like make ends meet, and then I get to do this for a living. So I just never take it for granted and just enjoy it as much as possible, and just work as hard as possible because of that reason, basically. Yeah.
And obviously, Ben and Luke, you can come in on this as well. I presume that's very much a message from within camp at the moment to keep you all grounded. You know what's going on in the world out there. Obviously, we're speaking today, and yeah, there's a big focus from Dove Men Plus Care about looking after each other, looking after yourselves. I presume there is a real message from within camp. Obviously, the result of the weekend is very disappointing, but there's bigger things going on, and you all want to keep grounded. You all know how lucky you are to be playing rugby right now.
Yeah, definitely. Like, the results to results, you just got to get on with it. It's you lose test matches, it happens. You have days where one or two's off, not quite where you want it to be. You have days where there's more than one or two, and we don't get the result, and it happens. But you move on. Like, you can't ponder on it. You got to learn on it and move on. That's just how it happens. You're going to lose games, and then on the back of that. That was where it falls into just being with this group and how lucky we are to have each other around us, to enjoy what we do every day, to go out there this week and get better, work on things, learn as a group, throw ourselves into it. So there's plenty of things to be very grateful, within this environment. We get an opportunity to play again at the weekend. We get an opportunity to help each other improve. We get a chance to hopefully, there's a lot of kids out there that can't play rugby at the moment, inspire them hopefully at the weekend. And, so we're unbelievably privileged to be able to work and do what we do, as Beno touched on. And our responsibility in that is to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure we're making the most of it.
Ben's mentioned, obviously, last year England lost the first game in the tournament, went on to win the Six Nations. Obviously, that will be the aim again. And we've seen lots of unpredictable results, not just in the Six Nations, but everywhere at this kind of time when things are difficult. So no one's writing off England's chances for sure. But I just want to touch on the preparation. Obviously, we know some of the coaches had to self-isolate. We know, obviously, there was lots of talk in the media, probably not within camp, about certain players who hadn't played much over the last couple of months. But from your point of view as players, obviously, you can only control the controllables. You can only deal with what's in front of you. Just touch on what the preparation was like and the coaches and everything. Did it feel quite normal? Did it feel just like a normal Six Nations prep or not?
Training here is always tougher than at club. Training's real good. If you're going to get prepped for a game, it would be in an England camp. I think our Tuesday unit session and Wednesday game training is pretty mental. It's easily as hard as a game. So I think the prep was all there. Obviously, weekend didn't go to plan, but I think focus on us now. I think we need to focus on just playing at our best. I think, especially at club, I don't know about the other boys at their clubs, but when you come off the back of a loss, you focus on your performance. End of the day, if we perform well on the weekend, the result should take care of itself. I think that's the only thing we're really disappointed about. It's just the performance. I think this week we'll train exactly the same as last week, just as hard, and then hopefully the performance will take care of itself. We know if we go out on the weekend and play well, we do the things we want to do, normally results take care of themselves.
And I'm sure we're speaking quite early in the week. I'm sure there's plenty of analysis sessions to come, but off the back of the result of the weekend, have you managed to get an idea of what the week's going to look like this week ahead of Italy, and what areas you're going to be focusing on in particularly?
Now, obviously, me, major set piece, so it'd be probably Rugby for me and scrum and line out. There's always areas to work on, no matter how good you are as a team. You can be the best team in the world for years, and there's stuff to work on. You always want to improve your game and get that extra 10% better than other teams. So we'll obviously do a lot of scrums and mauls this week, and for me, Rugby and maybe just some carry stuff. There'll be some individual stuff boys want to work on, which is quite good here. And then just little skills within set piece, back moves, whatever we need to do.
A massive thanks to all three of you for joining us today, especially after the disappointment of the Calcutta Cup on Saturday. And a big thanks to Dove Men Plus Care for their support as well. Obviously, the listeners won't be able to tell this, but you three are all looking pretty fresh, I think. me, lockdown's probably been a little bit tougher on me. Any advice you've got? Any rituals you go through? Anything that might be able to help me out? Any of you?
Message Ellis Genge, bro. He'll give you a little buzz cut up. You look fresh as hell.
Is he the hairdresser, the in-camp barber? Is he?
He's the in-camp barber, yeah. He
Oh
is.
God, that sounds dangerous. Letting Ellis loose with the clippers, but hey, I'll give him a ring.